Hey everyone, a Complex back with another video, and today we're going to talk about credit grinding in a Warframe. That's right, the majority of us need a metric boatload of credits at this point, and not only does just building your railjack take 6 million credits, but I'm sure there are going to be more things along the way that we're going to need, and those are, well, going to cost even more credits, and you might have plenty of credits already, which is great. I'm a little jealous, but some of us need to grind for even more credits. So today I'm going to walk you through a few different tips and tricks and ways to acquire credits to fit your particular playstyle. So let's just dive on into it. So first up, we have something that's called a dark sector mission. This is a great way to credit grind if you prefer not using the index as a form of getting credits, or if you're somebody that just prefers playing solo, or you only need a very small amount of credits and you need to do it very quickly. If you look on the star chart, you'll notice that some nodes on different planets have this interesting little icon that isn't like the others, and you'll see that you get like XP bonuses for kills of a certain type, or you might walk away with 35% more resources, something like that. All of those have a minimum amount of credits that they will give you no matter what. So there are 4 nodes total that have a 20,000 or up minimum yield. So there are 2 on Ceres and 2 on Pluto. So no matter where you are as far as Warframe goes, you'll get to Ceres pretty quickly. So this grind is great for beginners, or if you're somebody that is a little bit more seasoned in the game, Pluto is fantastic. Now the 2 on Ceres are the minimum 20,000 and the 2 on Pluto are the minimum of 24. The one thing that you do want to bear in mind is that each of them have a defense mission, and it doesn't matter how long you stay in the defense. It always is going to yield just the 20 or 24,000. So the best method is to go in, do the first round, and then when you have the first opportunity to extract, and then rinse and repeat, because otherwise you're just staying for the defense grind itself. And if that's what you're doing, that's fantastic. But if this is just for as an efficient credit grind as possible, the best way to do it is to do the first 5 waves, extract, and then come back in, rinse, and repeat. Now, the one thing to note is that this is pretty quick. On Ceres, you can, once you know how to do the defense mission and you know the layout of the tile set, it's going to take you anywhere from like 3 to 5 minutes solo. And then Pluto, maybe tack on an additional like 2 to 3 minutes-ish, maybe, depending on what frame you're using. So they are pretty quick ways to grind for just, a small amount of credits, or just to rinse and repeat several times over and get yourself a fair amount of credits in a, moderate amount of time. Now, up next, we have something called the Index, which you were introduced to in a quest called the Glassed Gambit, where you get Nidus's blueprint. The Index is veterans' top favorite place to grind out for credits. It is called the Index, and it is located on Neptune. And as you can see, when you load in, you'll have the option for a low-risk investment, medium-risk investment, or a high-risk investment. Now, each of these will yield a different amount of profit based off of that, provided you complete the mission successfully. What most people end up doing is going in for the high risk 50,000 investment, and then you get back 200,000. They only stay for 1 round because the financial stress that's applied after the first round isn't really worth it. And then they'll go back and rinse and repeat, and you can make a tidy profit pretty quickly. So just a quick overview of the Index in case you are new to it. However many points you need to score depends on your investment. So if you're going to do something like a high risk investment, you have to score 100 points in order to win before your opponent does, and you get those points by killing opponents and then carrying them on you. So they will drop them similar to like any kind of drop that an enemy drops, and then you have to roll over them in order to pick them up, because you don't get any companions with you in the Index. So you do actually have to go over them because there's no vacuum or anything like that to help you out. Now, one thing to note is that how many points you have held actually can give you a bonus. So anywhere from like 5, 10, 15, and 20 points held will all yield different bonuses. For instance, if you hold 15 points, you will actually be delivering 15 plus 8 additional points in there, which is pretty nice. So then that way you're not doing just the 15, you do get the bonus. So it's something to bear in mind as you're rolling through. So then that way you can do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. You are going to want to bring a frame, though, that you feel very comfortable with, something that is going to be tanky and able to not die too often, because the more that you die, the more points that your enemy is potentially able to pick up. So something like a Rhino with a good iron skin build is something that is very popular within the Index. Now, one other additional thing to note, if you are going in as a solo player or if you're going in with less than a full squad, the game will give you AI companions to complete the squad. So if you're only missing 2 people, it'll give you 2 AI companions and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to them if you are going in, so then that way they aren't dying too often and the enemy isn't making a ton of points because of that. Now, the next method I have for you is probably one of the least popular, and most veterans will say do not do it ways of making credits. But if you need a few credits really quickly, this way does work. You can sell your mods at your modding station for credits. So if you just select a few, you'll see that I have like selling 10 for 2,000, or I can dissolve them into Endo. And most people do prefer to dissolve them into Endo, as that is one of the better ways to get Endo. It's actually one of the only ways outside of missions and for various rewards where you can make credits in a variety of ways. But if you do need some credits quick, this way does work. And as you can see, depending on what quality of mod you sell, depends on how many credits. So the 10 bronze went for 2,000, whereas the 10 silver are going for 5. So this is something to bear in mind, like I said, if you just need credits quick. Now, this next method of making credits is one that is very, very easy. It just requires you to go through your inventory. If you head into the miscellaneous section of your inventory, you'll probably notice that you have quite a few blueprints, and a lot of them you might not actually need. For instance, Harris chassis is a pretty common drop, as well as like Oberon parts or anything that comes from the bounties in either Cetus or Orb Valis. So going through and just cleaning out your stack of like 600 Harris chassis is probably not a bad idea and will make you a lot of credits quickly. Now, the last thing I did want to mention to you is something called the Daily Double. When you first log into Warframe at the start of a new day, and not necessarily the first time you log in that day, but at the server reset time, you actually get double the credits for a variety of things that you would normally. So, for instance, doing a Dark Sector mission, like we mentioned at the beginning of the video, will yield double the credits than what you would get normally, which is pretty nice. So, instead of walking away with either 20 or 24,000 minimum, you'd walk away with either 40 or 48,000 minimum. Now, the way to note that if you've hit the daily reset is when you log in, you will see, or just when you come back from a mission, sometimes it even happens, the daily tribute screen. And sometimes you'll get something to like, you'll get 3 things to pick from or just a single reward. And that means that the next mission that you do will get that daily double. So make sure you're planning wisely when you're doing that mission. So then that way you can make the most amount of credits possible. And before you ask, yes, credit boosters do actually apply to that. So that means that on missions that your daily double applies to, instead of getting a double the amount of credits, you're actually making 4 times the amount of credits. So for instance, on the defense mission in Ceres, instead of making 40,000 on a daily double, you'd actually make 80,000 if the credit booster is applied. So that's an easy way to make yourself quite a bit of credits. So like I said, make sure that you are planning carefully when you're doing particular missions if you have your daily double ready to go. Now, the last thing I did want to mention to y'all is that there is a disruption node on Neptune that has a credit cache only as a reward. So tier A will yield you 20,000 credits. Tier B will net you 30,000 credits. Both of those are at 100% drop rate. And then tier C has a 95% drop rate to yield 50,000 credits. There's also a 5% chance to get a universal medallion, which is something that you can turn into any syndicate in order to get yourself 1,000 standing with them. So if you're somebody that enjoys grinding out the different disruption nodes, this is definitely a great option in order to get yourself some credits. One thing to note is that credit boosters theoretically should work here, as according to the wiki, they do work on caches. But there have been several instances of people on the Warframe forums who have said that it doesn't work for them. So if you're going in with a credit booster hoping to get yourself a double on one of these caches, just note it may or may not work, and that's something that you're going to have to play around with for yourself. Y'all, that is going to be it from me today, though. These were my favorite ways in order to make credits in Warframe. Hopefully it helped if you were having any trouble credit grinding, or maybe you just needed a new way to grind for credits. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your night and or day, depending on where you are in the world, and I will catch you next time. Bye, guys.